Hey, comic lovers, it's Uncle Eric, Grandpa Irv, and the baby, Thor the Dog of Thunder.
The hell?
Here to bring you another exciting episode of Back Issues. Hey, boy.
Easy.
You like those treats?
Good boy.
Is it good? Is it good? We're coming outside here with in the backyard with a sunny day here in Louisville. Beginning of spring, we hope.
Easy.
All right, so today we are talking about, we just finished our history of comic books, so we have to think about new material here. So for this one, we are coming up with the best and worst comic book movie castings of all time. And there's quite a few of them in both directions.
Oh, yeah. Most of them, I think, a lot of them we've already talked about.
Yep.
We'll bring them all up in one video.
Yeah, we'll count them down. All right. All right, kids, get ready to cuddle up with your pets for movie night because this is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers, so before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you have some picks that we didn't mention on our countdown, then let us know about it. If you have a disagreement about one of our picks, let us know.
Well, holding on to disagreements because I'm very sensitive.
No. I mean, it won't change our minds, probably. I mean, maybe you came up with one we didn't think of. So.
I'm sure we forgot some, but,
yeah.
You know.
All right, so the top 10 best and worst comic book movie castings of all time. So I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to do our top 10 best since people like worst list more than best list somehow.
Shame on you.
So save the worst for last. Now, before we get started on this, if you were to look up like worst comic book movie castings of all time on Google, and all these lists will pop up, you'll see a lot of recurring people on the same list.
Bunch of them.
And you might notice a few of them are absent our lists. And there's a reason for that. See, the old man and I, we try very hard not to blame actors for bad scripts.
Right. Just because their part was written poorly doesn't mean it's their fault. Doesn't mean they were the wrong person for the job.
Mm-hmm.
It just means the person writing the part sucked.
Right. I mean, you'll notice that no one from any of the Fantastic Four films are on this list. Ryan Reynolds from Green Lantern will not appear on this list because we didn't think it was their fault.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, there's
Yes.
another thing that we don't do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will be hating on somebody because they pull up Facebook or whatever and everybody's hating on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes cool to hate on somebody. I don't need to be cool. I don't care if I'm cool or not. It doesn't matter to me. If you hate Daredevil because, when I say Daredevil, I mean Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
If you hate Ben Affleck's Daredevil because everywhere you go you see people hating on it, but you didn't hate it, then you're like me. Because I'm going to say, I like that Daredevil movie. It was the best Daredevil to come along until
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. And in defense of Ben Affleck, who had the better script to work with? Charlie Cox, by far. Now, by the time the Netflix Daredevil came along, Ben might have been a little long in the tooth to play that part. So, I get it. But just because everybody in the world hates something doesn't mean we're going to hate it.
Right.
Just so you know.
Okay, so there you have it. All right, so let's start off with our best comic book movie castings of all time.
Who's number 10 on the hit parade?
Number 10, Ron Perlman for Hellboy. I mean, it's not everyone's favorite, but him and Benicio del Toro made a pretty amazing team on this. It had the Benicio del Toro flair to it, and the Ron Perlman charm.
Do you know why you see those two working on the same project a lot?
I do not.
Because years ago, when del Toro was putting everything he had into a movie called Kronos, he went over budget, didn't have any money. So he took his own personal money, invested in the film, and Ron Perlman told Del Toro, "Hey, you can take my pay too.
Wow.
I'll chip it back in." Since then, these two have been buds. So you'll see those two teamed up on movies a lot.
All right, so there's number 10. Number 9, Jackie Earle Haley Rorschach in Watchmen.
I tell you what, I've seen Jackie Earle do a lot of stuff over his career. I didn't particularly like him in, what was the recent horror remake?
Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street.
I didn't particularly like him in that part. I
Well,
mean, he was okay.
I mean, it's not comic book, but I'll just say that could be an example of bad casting and a bad script. So,
Right. Well, I don't even know if he was bad casting. I just didn't like the movie.
well, I mean, no one's going to accept anyone else as Freddy Krueger. So,
That part's kind of carved in stone.
yeah.
But when he put on the Rorschach costume and was Rorschach, there's a line in that movie when he's in prison.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!
It scared me. I'm glad I'm not in there. I mean, that was good casting.
All right, number 8. This one should be obvious for anyone. Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Years ago, EMoney and I met Dean Cain at a convention. And when we walked up to him, Dean, who was having a good time, I mean, he must have been having a good day, he looked at us and says, "All right, guys, who's your favorite Superman?" And we hesitated, and he just looked at us and says, "It's Chris, isn't it?" I could tell it's Chris. He's right.
Yeah,
He's right.
I mean, sorry.
I mean, Dean Cain did a fine job. I mean, pretty much everybody who's played Superman in my lifetime has done an okay job. There's been some crappy movies, but I can't fault any of these guys for the job they did. But Christopher Reeve's always going to be my Superman.
Yep. All right, so number 7, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
I think I came out of the, which movie was it that I said that?
Birds of Prey.
When I came out of Birds of Prey, I said, I don't care what they do, but we've seen Margot Robbie play Harley Quinn twice now. Nobody else can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's freaking. She might be a little cray-cray herself, to be honest, because I'm convinced she needs to keep that part.
I mean, a lot of people are down on Suicide Squad, but
Well,
yeah,
like
I think.
you,
I mean, I thought there were a lot of problems with it, but I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the new one, the Suicide Squad.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. So,
Okay. All right.
what's next?
Number 6, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Another person to come out of the DCEU who has become the part.
I mean, when they cast, there was a lot of naysayers who were like, "No, she can't do it.
She's too skinny.
Yep. And first off, if you look at the comic books, most artists draw Wonder Woman fairly skinny. She's not a muscle builder. Now, she's been drawn that way,
Yeah.
but I think she's dead on perfect. She's easy on the eyes. I mean, let's face it, she's drop dead gorgeous, and she embraces the part.
Right. Well, I actually found out that when she auditioned for the part, she was just about ready to give up acting. She wasn't giving up the part. She wasn't getting the part she wanted, and she was getting tired of taking the 16-hour flights from Israel to California. So she was on her way back. She was back in Israel about to pack it up, and she gets a call from an audition she had done, and they hadn't told her what it was. They had been very vague about the part, and when she finds out she's in the final 3 for Wonder Woman, she decided to revamp her efforts as an actress.
I mean, let's face it, how often do you get a chance to play an iconic character like that? I mean, and working for the right director in the right role. Thank you for sticking with it.
Yep. All right, so there's Gal Gadot. Number 5,
Oh, yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
I mean, who the hell else?
Right. I mean, this is a part that was literally written for Samuel L. Jackson. And this was long before the MCU, before Iron Man. I think it was in 2000 when they relaunched the Marvel Universe with the Ultimate Universe. and Nick Fury was rewritten as a guy who looks like Samuel L. Jackson because the artist actually contacted Samuel L. and said, "Hey, do you mind if I use your likeness to draw this new character?"
And history was made.
Yeah.
Because, once again, Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been a couple iconic scenes. The scenes in, I think it was Winter Soldier with the vehicle battle.
Yeah.
Who else could be that cool in that kind of combat?
Yep.
Nick Fury can.
And there's a scene in the Ultimates, the comic book, and again, before Iron Man, where the Avengers were all, or the Ultimates, they were called in that version, were all going around the table asking each other, who would play them in a movie. So after they'd been talking for a little bit, Hawkeye looks up at Fury and goes, "What about you, Nick? Who would play you in a movie?" And Fury looks at him and he's like, "Well, who else but Mr. Samuel L. Jackson?"
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. All right. Who's number 4?
All right. Number 4 is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
No. You mean J. Jonah Jameson as J. Jonah Jameson.
Right.
Because he is J. Jonah Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else who would ever think of playing that part, I would look at him and go, imposter.
Mm.
Who are you trying to kid? You are not J. Jonah Jameson, because J. Jonah Jameson is J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, that's the thing. Since the first Spider-Man movie in 2002, I believe, across 3 different Spider-Man franchises and 7 movies, not counting the extra Avengers movies, no one else has played J. Jonah Jameson.
Because anybody who would try for that part would go, never mind, I forgot.
Right.
It's already been cast.
Mm-hmm.
And it has.
Yeah, and he will probably play him until he dies.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because he's one hell of an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And B, he's J. Jonah Jameson.
And, I know it was, pretty short, but I thought he was solid as Commissioner Gordon, too.
Not my first pick for Commissioner Gordon, but he's such a good actor. I mean, he'd pull it off.
Yep.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool.
All right, first off, shut up with your Green Lantern comments. Okay? This has nothing to do with that part. Okay? I doubt Ryan Reynolds would have taken the role if he had known what he was getting into, how bad the thing was written, how crappy the CGI costume looked. So just, let's not even talk about that anymore. Enough said. Let's talk about your old boy Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Not my old boy. No, not mine. Yours.
Oh, okay. You want me? Okay. All right. So this is, we've talked about roles that someone was born to play. This is a role that Ryan Reynolds has wanted to play ever since he heard about him. The only reason that the Deadpool movie got made was because Ryan Reynolds released the test footage. And that created a buzz online, and that, got people who, could make the movie happen more interested in the project, because they didn't think that Deadpool could carry his own movie after the, lukewarm success of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Well, if you watch this channel for more than 10 minutes, you know the old man doesn't particularly care for the Deadpool character. He's all right. I enjoyed the movies. I could have done without the penis jokes and everything else that Deadpool does that I don't like, which is a lot. But nobody else can do that. This is a guy who is constantly campaigning for the character. When he's just being Ryan Reynolds, he's being Deadpool.
Yep.
Don't shoot him because he won't heal. But this is another case of damn near perfect casting. Nobody else is going to pull it off.
One of the reasons for the success of the first Deadpool movie was the marketing campaign. Ryan Reynolds was on it because
all you had to do was follow Ryan Reynolds around with the camera, and
yep,
he's doing Deadpool 24/7.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there's what was it? Number 3.
That was number 3. Number 2.
Number 3. Number 2. Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. What's the difference between Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark?
Okay. I don't know how rich Robert Downey Jr. is, but I don't think he's as rich as Tony Stark. And I'm sure he's a pretty smart cat, but I don't think he's Tony Stark level of IQ. I mean, Tony's like out there. But other than that, it's the same guy. He looks right, he acts right, he's got the same attitude. When he decides, well, I'm not convinced he's done being Iron Man.
No.
Just like this next guy, I'm not sure he's done with his character. But if he is, it's a shame. And if that's the case, then I hope they keep Iron Man dead, because I don't want to see anybody else playing him.
Yeah. All right. So there's number 2. Number 1, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine or Logan. I mean, whatever doubt there might have been before the first X-Men movie, that someone was like, he's the guy from Kate and Leopold. He's not gonna be Wolverine. He's too tall, anyways.
He is tall, and Wolverine's not tall, but you've got a superior actor playing a part that's half action, half drama. He's pulling it off every time he's been in a movie playing Wolverine. He has pulled it off. And in that movie, he brought the A game. I mean, it was all there. And just so everybody listening knows, I don't think he's done with it yet. And no, Wolverine ain't dead. Come on.
All right, so there's our top 10 list for the best comic book movie castings of all time. So now it's time for the fun part, the worst comic book movie castings of all time. And for our number 10, we start off with one that's a little controversial, I think. Number 10, George Clooney for Batman. Now,
let's face it, he had crap to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from Batman being up on stage accepting awards in public to having nipples on his costume. I mean, there was a lot
Batman credit
wrong.
card.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot wrong with this movie.
Yeah.
A lot.
But we said we don't want to blame actors for bad writing. So that's part of the reason why he's number 10. Because we not sure just how much is his fault. I don't know how well he would have done with Batman and with a better script, because I've often posed this to people. If, George Clooney is in his prime, say like mid-30s, give or take, and he's handed the script to Batman Begins,
How would we have done?
Yeah, how would he have done in that part?
But in this particular case, it's been very hard for us to separate.
Right.
So, number 10, George Clooney.
All right, so number 9, Taylor Kitsch as Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
This is a guy who's just had a lot of crappy luck. His best role was when he was the fullback in Friday Night Lights. He did a good job. Excellent job. Then he gets, I'm not sure the order of his parts, but he's had John Carter, which I love John Carter. If you take out the comic relief of the dog, I think it was a great movie.
I like the dog.
Yeah, you like the dog. You like comic relief. You probably like Jar Jar Binks.
Shut up. You shut your mouth. Shut your dirty, filthy mouth.
But at any rate, I don't like comic relief in my action movies. So, John Carter, I read all the Warlord of Mars books by Edgar Rice Burroughs when I was a kid. Loved them. I'm not going to say I won't ever reread them, because they were just great, great science fiction. When you're going to do a movie about the Warlord of Mars, why the hell do you call it John Carter?
Well, there was a reason for that.
Stupid reason.
Every movie in the last 10, 20 years, whatever, that had Mars in the title had been a box office flop. So they took it out of the title in hopes to avoid that, which they didn't apparently. So
if you had a movie that was called Irvin Sievers, ain't nobody gonna go. But if you have a movie called The Godfather of Comic Books, a couple people gonna go. Okay?
Okay. So back to the part we're talking about here.
So, Gambit.
I mean, I'm sure, like, when he was doing it, he thought he was putting on a New Orleans accent.
Cajun?
Yeah. But, it very rarely picked up on it. So
also, Gambit just reeks sex appeal. I mean, this guy is like a presence when he comes into a room. And he didn't give us that. So I don't know. I don't know who would have been better, but it had to be somebody out there that could have done a better job.
We actually got a better Gambit off of this independent film that my dad and I watched recently. It had Eric Roberts as the villain in it. And this guy was playing a better Gambit than Taylor Kitsch.
All right, that brings us to number 8.
All right. Number 8.
Back to this movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze.
I like Arnold's movies, pretty much all of them, because his agent is smart enough to get him parts that work for Arnold. Okay? This was a waste of Arnold.
Yeah.
A waste of Mr. Freeze. And the whole movie was a waste of a movie.
Right. But, I mean, this was definitely a case of him being handed a bad script.
Well, I think even with the bad script, if you put the right guy in the part, that part would have been better.
Okay, well, I heard, I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that Joel Schumacher had slated Patrick Stewart to play Mr. Freeze. But then when Arnold became interested, he thought that Arnold was going to be a bigger box office draw than Patrick Stewart, so he, kicked Patrick and put it on. And you can see, Arnold is the top of the box here before George Clooney, so he obviously thought that he was going to be a bigger draw.
Did you go see that movie because Arnold was in it?
No.
I did not either. I didn't care that Arnold was in it. I went to see Batman.
I just have trouble picturing Patrick Stewart making all those ice puns. I mean, he might have put a stop to it.
First off, why was it? Never mind, that's the writing. Mr. Freeze doesn't make ice puns.
Right. So,
at any rate, we didn't like Arnold as Mr. Freeze.
No.
So, up next.
Next up, you have Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut. And, this character was just done poorly. I mean, from the look to the accent. I mean, have you ever known Juggernaut to be talking with a Cockney accent?
No, and I've never known Vinnie Jones to successfully play anything but a gangster.
Right.
He plays one hell of a gangster, but I don't see him playing a superpowered supervillain.
And this. I mean, apparently he was wearing a muscle suit over the Juggernaut outfit, such as it was. So I mean, that's not part of the casting, but that's just part of what was done wrong about this character.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things done wrong, but put Vinnie back where he belongs. He needs to be a gangster. All
right, so that was number 7.
Number 6.
Number 6, Nick Cage for Ghost Rider.
All right, first off, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Let's talk about the movie for just a second. You can't do a movie about a demon who's the spirit of vengeance and rated PG-13. Now, that's got nothing to do with today's discussion. I had to get that out there one more time.
That's like making Deadpool PG-13.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't.
The side note here, one of the funniest things about the advertising campaign for Deadpool was on April Fool's Day, he came on Extra, and Ryan Reynolds was talking to Mario Lopez via video conference, and they're like, so I understand Deadpool is going to be PG-13, so you want to make it more kid-friendly. And Ryan Reynolds is humoring him and egging him on, and Deadpool sneaks up behind Mario Lopez and like hits him with a microphone pole or something, and he's like, F you, Slater, Deadpool will be rated R.
All right, so
anyways,
back to the real discussion.
Okay.
Nick Cage was a fine actor. I mean, he takes any part he can get, which is amazing.
I mean, there's a whole joke about it. You look up on YouTube Nick Cage's agent, and you'll see what we mean.
Right. But Johnny Blaze should be younger. Should have relatively long blonde hair. It should be a professional daredevil / acrobat. It shouldn't be Nicolas Cage. I'm sorry, Nick. You're a great actor, but this one wasn't for you.
And Nick Cage, he is an avid, genuine comic book fan.
Oh, he is.
And
I mean, let's face it. Where do you think he got his last name? He got his last name from Luke Cage.
Oh, okay.
Didn't know that?
Nope, had not heard that.
Yep.
And, he wants to do comic book movies, which, I respect that on some level, but you just got to find the parts that are right for you.
Give me a half hour. I'll find you a better role.
There's a rumor going around that Nick Cage is going to play Superman in the Flash movie.
Shut up.
Yeah. If I see that, when I watch it and that happens, it'll be like the scene in Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum. Like, he did it. Crazy son of a bitch. He did it.
No. I mean, Nicolas Cage was up for a role as Superman years and years ago. There's even pictures floating around where he's wearing the costume.
Which you'll see some of in a minute here.
But no.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Next.
So there it is.
We got number 5.
Number 5, Shaquille O'Neal for Steel. Now, again, this is another example of a bad script, but also bad casting.
I don't care if you had a good script. At the time, I've named 2 guys that should have been talked to about playing Steel, which were...
Michael Clark Duncan and Ving Rhames.
Yes. Perfect casting. Either one of those guys would have been fantastic as John Henry Irons. And Shaq, love you, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, not just as a basketball player, as a human being. You have got one of the greatest senses of humor I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And some of the comedy work you've done is top notch.
I mean, I love you in like any Adam Sandler movie, but I don't know if I can buy Shaq as a leading man, especially back then. I mean, he's come a long way as an actor in 20 years, but back then, I mean, this is one of his first roles in Hollywood, and he was the top guy here.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If me and you were ever in the same room and the shit hits the fan, Shaquille, yeah, I want you in front of me for real. Don't get me wrong. But
I have been in the same room as Shaq. Side note. Anyways, so this. I mean, first of all, script was pretty bad. The costume design was horrible. I mean, he looked pretty ridiculous in that outfit. I don't know if anybody could have saved that with the way they made that suit. But he was not up to the task at that time. If they put him in a leading role now, I don't know, he'd probably be a lot better. But back then, I mean, he wasn't up for it.
If they wrote the part for him, yes.
Right. All right, so there's number 5.
Yep. Now this one, number 4, is all you.
This is one that is not going to appear on any list other than mine because I had a personal problem with it right from the start.
And it's voice work. It's not an actual true performance.
This is Taika Waititi. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Probably not.
Taika Waititi for Korg in Thor Ragnarok. And Taika Waititi was the director for the film, so he decided to insert himself into the part. And, okay, you see a guy like Korg, and, before you hear him speak, you imagine he's going to sound something like, Thor, we have the ship, let's get going. Something like that.
I picture him like Ben Grimm, the Thing.
Right.
Gravelly, deep voice.
Mm-hmm. And instead you get...
Hey, man, we're about to jump on that ginormous spaceship. You want to come?
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I know it's supposed to be comic relief, I guess, but, I mean, there are other ways to do comic relief. I thought the character was just spoiled for me after that.
Yep.
So... there it is, my number 4 pick.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, Topher Grace as Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 3.
And for you guys that aren't totally into comic books, Eddie Brock is Venom.
Yeah.
Now, of all the symbiotes out there, Venom's a tank. Mm-hmm. He's big and thick.
Yeah, I mean, it was one thing not to cast someone who is not, big, broad... burly type guy who's really thick, muscular. It's one thing not to do that, but to cast someone who is the complete polar opposite physically to put in the part. I mean, you watch Topher Grace on that 70s show, which was his big part up to that point when he was cast in Spider-Man 3, and you're like, him?
I think that's what I did.
He's gonna be Eddie Brock. Not Carnage, not Cassidy. He's going to be Eddie Brock. What the hell? And, I guess he did as well as he could with the script, but I mean, it did not feel like Eddie Brock at all to me. Even taking out his physicality.
So, bottom line is, if you want to try it again as a symbiote, not Venom.
No. All right, so there's number 3.
Number 2.
Number 2, Seth Rogen as the Green Hornet.
All right, here's the problem I have with this one. Was the movie supposed to be flat out comedy?
I mean, you knew there had to be some humor to it, but when they cast Seth Rogen in the part, I don't know what else they expected. And also that Green Hornet was so inept in this movie because, I mean, we've talked about in the original show, you know, Green Hornet, he had a lot of skills, but he wasn't the best fighter among the duo. I mean, Kato was the fighter. Green Hornet, he knew some stuff, and Kato was his martial arts instructor, wasn't he?
I'm sure they sparred some.
Right. So Green Hornet did other stuff, but he left a lot of the fighting to Kato. So you expect Kato to be, you know, the badass in this film, but you expect Green Hornet to do some stuff. I mean, this was sort of similar to that scene in Iron Man 2 when Happy and Black Widow storm into Hammer's facility, and, you know, Happy punches the first guy he sees, and, you know, he struggles with that guy for like 10 minutes while Black Widow takes out the rest of the building.
But the bottom line is, Happy won his fight.
He did beat the guy. But, you know, that's pretty much what it was in this movie. Seth Rogen, I mean, he'll throw one punch in a fight, and Kato takes out everybody else. So, I don't know what they were expecting in that film, but, I mean, not the best choice, in my opinion, Seth Rogen.
If it's supposed to be straight, it's absolutely one of the worst choices you could ever make.
Right.
All right, now, number 1.
Number 1, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
All right, let's think about this.
This is. I mean, I agree, but this is sort of his thing.
Let's think about this. Name some guys who have played Lex Luthor in the past.
Gene Hackman, John Cryer.
All right, start with Gene Hackman. I didn't like that portrayal of Luthor. Okay, he was too funny. And what was the guy? Great actor. Superman lifts the Kryptonite Mountain.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, another great actor. The writer for that movie did not understand Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is a criminal genius. He is evil, but you can't always tell that he's evil. Okay? John Cryer in the Arrowverse crossover, or not, no, he was in the Arrowverse before the Crisis crossover.
Yes.
I thought that was a terrible decision to cast him as Lex
Oh,
Luthor.
yeah. I mean, there's another case of, you know, you see him on 2.5 Men, and you're like, this guy?
Yeah, how's he going to play Lex Luthor?
But
I'll be damned.
yeah, unlike Topher Grace, he totally changed my mind.
He stepped up. He played the part the way the part should be played.
Mm-hmm.
To date, he's my favorite Lex Luthor. Can it be done better? I think a lot of it is you need to make them physically look like the Lex Luthor in the comic books is the thing that's missing for me. But if you're not going to do that, I'm fine with John Cryer continuing in that part because he embraced it. Now, Mr. Eisenberg, a fine actor. I love a lot of the stuff you've done, but you're not Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be Lex Luthor. I don't care how hard you try. Lex Luthor should not be in your vocabulary.
Mm-mm.
So stop.
I mean, Lex Luthor is crazy, but Jesse Eisenberg was doing the wrong type of crazy for that part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was directed to do that. If he was, you needed to just take the director by the front of the shirt and just slapped him a little bit.
I mean,
wake him up.
Eisenberg might have been better suited to play the Joker than Lex Luthor.
I'm not crazy about that, but if I had to pick between the two, sure.
Yeah.
Play any other guy in the Superman Rogues Gallery, and I'm okay with it. But Lex Luthor is not you.
Yeah. All right.
I moaned and groaned through that whole movie every time he was on the screen. I was like, oh, God. But at any rate.
All right, so there
That's
you
it.
have it. Our top 10 worst comic book movie castings of all time. All right, so what do you think? Give us your opinion. You know, did we miss a few that are on your list? Did you not agree with ours? I mean, there's people have their picks on castings that we disagree with, like we said earlier. So let us know about it in the comments section. All right, so I have a special Stump the Old Man segment all picked out for you. So let's head back outside with Thor. All right, it's time for another segment of Stump the Old Man. So last week we had movie age, so we did movie-related questions. So we did, movie castings this week. So I figured, let's do another movie-themed trivia. So best 2 out of 3. All right. In 1998, Nick Cage was set to star as Superman in a film under the title Superman Lives. Under what famous Hollywood director?
Well, I knew Nick Cage was being talked to be Superman. In fact, I've seen pictures of him in the costume. I don't know if they're just, fake pictures or if they're real pictures. I don't know. But it would have to be, what year did you say?
98.
So it'd have to be one crazy director to try to put Nicolas Cage as Superman. One of the craziest directors I know is Mr. Tim Burton.
That is correct. I think you and I were talking about it. It was like you were still working at Comic Book World when we heard about it.
That's right. Now I remember that conversation.
Yeah. All right. Like the first thing I thought was, does Nick Cage have the hair for Superman?
No.
All right. On to question number 2.
Okay.
During the production of the original Avengers film, there were few times when everyone was in town at once. But on one night when they were, what one word did Chris Evans send out in a group text prompting a night out on the town?
You sure it was one word?
One word.
Because if you want to ask me what he should have texted, would have been Avengers Assemble. But you're saying that wasn't it.
Nope, that was not it.
Then I got to go with Assemble because that's the only thing I can think of.
That is correct. He said, assemble, and Agent Coulson actor Clark Gregg stated that this is his favorite text he has ever received.
It would have been my favorite text too.
Yep.
Shoot, yeah.
All right, so 2 for 2 already. So this third one is just for fun.
Fun for me.
All right. In the film Deadpool,
I said fun for me. Were you not listening? Deadpool's not fun for me. Thor.
You're reluctant to have fun with Deadpool.
Thor, bite him. Right now, bite him.
Don't bite. All right. In the film Deadpool, the Merc with the Mouse girlfriend is a quick-witted prostitute named Vanessa. But in the comic books, what was Vanessa's alias?
I have no idea, and I would have no idea when you came up with that question.
You read comic books in the 90s. You may have read about Deadpool's girlfriend.
Until recently, I have avoided all things Deadpool except for the movies. And I give everybody credit that it was involved with the movies. The movies are a lot of fun. I could do without the penis jokes in the first 5 minutes of each movie, but that's just me. But at any rate, his girlfriend, Tootsie.
No.
Didn't think so.
In the comics, Vanessa was a shape-shifting mutant with the code name Copycat. They pay
Of course she was.
They pay homage to her comic book version in the film when she mentions that she has played a lot of roles.
Whatever.
All right.
See how he does me? Y'all see how he does me?
All right, so 2 out of 3, the old man wins this week.
Of course. Even with you throwing jerky questions like that in there, I still get it.
You see how I can push his buttons? Just mention Deadpool. I could come up with a few other triggers if I really thought about it, but
if you don't have triggers, I've seen you go on just a vent, and I'm looking at the camera going, because I did it on purpose. I might do it tomorrow or the next day. We'll see.
All right, comic lovers. So that about does it for this episode. But before we go, let's talk a little bit about what we have going on for next week. And
do tell.
I guess we're kind of continuing our theme of comic book movie related stuff. We did the movie age, and then we did best and worst comic book movie casting. So now we have another one. Next week, we're going to be tackling the biggest mistakes made in comic book movies and how we could have fixed them.
Does that count TV?
I mean, if you want to explore that avenue, I will allow it.
All right. Well, by covering the miscastings, we'll see. We'll see what we come up with.
Okay. So be sure to tune in next time. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then. Excelsior.
True believers, still a lot of comic book related movies coming out. It's going to be a good time, isn't it?
Hope so.